Hi, this is Vicky Payne. I'm veterinary consultant for Breakthrough and Oscars, and today I'm going to talk about a slightly disgusting topic, which is coprophagia or poop eating. I think the first thing that I'd like to say is that eating poo is a completely normal thing for dogs to do. Despite what people like to think, that dogs evolved from wolves as mighty hunters, they actually probably evolved as poop-eating scavengers. So as humans just started to settle and have camps and have more permanent villages, we would have waste areas where we'd put leftover bits of dead animal, leftover bits of food, probably our own human waste. And this would attract rodents, other small rats, things like that, and rubbish wolves. So there were probably a subpopulation of, possibly before wolves were wolves and dogs were dogs. Some were wary of humans and kept out of our way and kept hunting, and others that were less wary of humans were able to take advantage of a new and easy food source, being leftover food, poop, rubbish, rats. And we see this all over the world even today. So there are still some free living populations of dogs. There's some videos and research of free living dogs on dumps around the world in places like Mexico and India, and they probably live the nearest life to the original dogs, living on the outskirts of society. They like people enough to hang around and get food off them, and live off rubbish. So yeah, forget the ideas that you have of your dog being a noble wolf. Your dog is a poop-eating scavenger. Now, just because it's normal doesn't mean it's okay. There are problems with dogs eating poop. It can risk them picking up diseases from other dogs or the other animals' faeces that they're eating. We all know that we shouldn't let dogs lick our faces, but most of us do. But even so, they lick your hands. If you're not scrupulous in washing your hands all the time, or especially your children aren't, then they can contract diseases from dog mouths if they've been eating cat and dog faeces or wildlife faeces as well. And probably the most important would be roundworms. If they get into children at certain stages, they can migrate through the liver and through the eyes and cause quite serious disease. So as a responsible dog owner, you'll be picking up your poop, you'll be worming your dogs regularly, but not everybody is as responsible as you. And obviously the foxes aren't taking any worming tablets and are leaving their poop everywhere. So having decided that poop eating is natural, but undesirable in a modern pet dog, what are we going to do about it? You might not be getting a puppy, you might have an adult dog that already comes with a poop eating habit. Now that can happen for a number of reasons. Bitches that have had litters will eat poop. They have to eat when the puppies are really small, they have to lick their bums to make them wee and poo. And in the first 2 weeks, the bitch will clear up most of that pee and poo. So it can become a habit, or they can almost get a taste for it, I suppose, if they've had a litter of puppies. Especially if if you take on a rescue dog that has perhaps come out of a puppy farm situation where the pen wasn't cleaned. That bitch may have not been fed adequately and had a lot of poop to deal with. So she may have kept eating poop from her puppies for quite a long time until those puppies were rehomed. And that gives you a much bigger problem. It can be boredom. If there's nothing else in the environment for a dog to investigate, and especially sometimes you'll see this with, say, poor rescue kennels, perhaps rescue kennels abroad. If all there is a concrete run with nothing in it to chew, nothing in there to investigate, but there's poop that's not being cleared up frequently, then dogs might investigate that. Again, they might be hungry, they might not be getting other food. I think it's not very often in this country, it's not very often associated with a lack of vitamins or minerals. It's mostly just because it's delicious. Now that sounds like a disgusting and weird thing for me to say as a human being. I don't eat poop. But it is a source of nutrients for dogs. It does appear to be quite tasty to dogs, especially cat poop. Cat food generally is higher in fat and protein, and more of that comes through. There are still nutrients in poop. Herbivore poop, that's been digested by, horses, cows, things like that, rabbits. And those poops can sometimes be irresistible to dogs. So don't always think that there's a deficiency there in terms of food. Although obviously if you look at the diet, if you're feeding a good balanced diet, so that could be any of the Oscars diets, certainly if you're feeding Breakthrough, then your dog will be on a balanced diet and is not going to have any deficiencies. If you've got a dog that's really fussy, then yes, maybe there might be some nutritional deficiencies there, and then you need to speak to a vet ideally. If we're lucky enough to get a baby puppy, then it's normally quite easy to stop poop eating. It depends where you've got your puppy from. If you've got your puppy from a good breeder, they will have kept the nest clean, they will have been picking up poops as frequently as they can. If puppies are left in a dirty environment, they're more likely to investigate their siblings' faeces and eat that, or just lick it off each other, and I suppose get a taste for it. So ideally, if you've got a puppy from a good breeder, they're not going to come with a poop eating habit ingrained. And I like to start with a lot of self-control games. So for me, I like my dogs to have a mindset that nothing that they see on the floor is for them to eat unless I tell them it's for them to eat. Now this sounds like I'm being quite bossy here, but it saves a lot of problems. It stops them eating, discarded burgers that are going to make them sick. It stops them eating poop. If we drop something on the floor like some chocolate or grapes that they're not meant to have, if their first thought is, ooh, I'm going to sit and ask if I'm allowed that, it gives me time to clear up and them not snaffle something dangerous. So I'm not going to go into huge detail on how we train this, but one game that I like to play is called Mousey Mousey, where you have a treat under your hand, like so. Dog investigates, can't get to the treat. When the puppy backs off, this is my puppy, you then flick the treat at them and they get to eat the mouse. Builds up till you can have the mouse peeking out of the hole. Puppy comes, you can cover him up. But if the puppy's like, I know this now, I don't get it till I'm told to get it. Puppy sits here, mouse comes out. Eventually the mouse, it's quite a big treat perhaps, is just sitting there out in the open. When your puppy's like, I've got this, I don't take this until I'm told. I build this up until I can drop treats on the floor, drop a treat bag on the floor, and my puppy backs off and is like, ooh, I'm going to wait to be told to eat it. Sometimes I'll say, yeah, brilliant, get it. Other times I'll be like, ooh, we're not having that, have this treat instead. Similarly, you can play games with a treat on your hand. I play a take it, leave it game, so I'll have a treat on the hand is closed initially, puppy comes and investigates, realises I'm not going to give the treat, looks confused, open the hand, get it, or take it. We build up so the hand can be open, say leave, get it. Or you can this is always, you can say this is always a leave, I'm not going to tell you to get it. Oh, now you can have it because I've given it to you. Or the treat could come out of your other pocket. So lots of ways that you can start building a leave it mindset, because you're not always going to be there to tell them leave. That's why I really like the games where they are showing self-control and their attitude is, oh, there's some food there. Am I allowed to eat this? Oh, you'd rather I didn't, but I can have a treat instead. Oh, brilliant. So it's all about changing their mindset. So with an adult poop eater or an older dog poop eater, we can look at the same things that we've done with puppies. So self-control games, leave it games, automatic leave it games are all entirely appropriate for an adult dog. We might also add some more enrichment into their lives. So if they like to go off foraging around the garden, instead of leaving poops for them to find, perhaps we leave toys that are stuffed with some food, so that they can have a chew on that, so that they're finding food, especially if you're looking at a dog who perhaps has come from a rescue situation, maybe a street dog or a dog that's had to find their own food. All dogs enjoy finding food, I think. But if they've had that as a previous life, it might be a habit that's more difficult to break. So give them something appropriate to forage for. Even something as simple as scatter feeding. And this can be in the house, can also be in the garden. Obviously, cleaning up and making sure there's no poop in your home environment is really important. But I think you need to do this slightly carefully. So where I've got a dog that likes to eat poop, I've seen cases occasionally where if the dog sees the human picking up the poop very quickly, the dog almost sees competition for a resource. If that dog likes eating poo, I can't believe how many times I'm having to say eating poo during this. But if the dog enjoys that, it thinks it's a tasty snack, they can see the human picking it up almost as competition. So with those dogs, when they've done their poop, make a fuss of them, have a play with them, pop them back inside, and then clear up. Obviously more difficult on a walk, but you could still sit the dog up, perhaps give the dog a treat, scatter some treats on the ground, hold the lead, obviously, one-handed poop pickup, and then continue on your way. So the dog isn't seeing it so much as competition. Much more difficult when you're out on walks. Muzzles, yes, they will work. Unfortunately, there is the risk that the dog is going to still plunge his nose into a squidgy poop and just get poop all over the muzzle. So I think if you've got a poop eater out on walks, it's just being aware when they put their head down, are they sniffing just to have a sniff? Are they sniffing because there's a cat turd in the hedge? And just having alternative things. So perhaps We all like to go for sniffy walks now with our dogs, but I think if you've got a dog that eats anything it shouldn't, you've just got to be a little bit more careful about what you let them sniff. So perhaps sit the dog, if they're interested in an area, sit your dog up, have a little look around, maybe walk with a stick so you can have a little poke. Oh good, there's nothing edible there, no poops, no discarded hamburgers. Okay dog, you can have a sniff. Or if there is, oh dear, I've spotted a cat turd in there, perhaps you say, how about you don't sniff there, how about we sniff over here where I've sprinkled some food. When I'm talking about food and treats, I should, as always, remind you that the startup training treats are highly digestible, highly delicious, almost certainly more delicious than a cat turd. So I think it should definitely be something to consider when you're training a dog, either in your basic training with a puppy or new dog to you, or if you've got a problem with them scavenging and you're trying to teach her leave that kitty bomb because this startup treat is much more delicious. If you've enjoyed my chat about poop today, then remember you can subscribe to any of our social media channels. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. You can also find a lot of blogs and vlogs on the Oscars website.